Okay, hey, we're here for part two, and we're going to do the back side of that chart. We'll start out with the factors that led to the railroad's early growth. Really, number one was the limitations of the canal, where it was kind of stuck in one region, and there was a part of the Panic of 1819 as well, led to economic downturn, and canal business was suffering. Plus, they did not have the support of the federal government, which the railroads will eventually do get the support. But to talk real briefly about the Panic of 1819, we talked about that in class. The main reason, of course, of the Panic of 1819 was a decrease of cotton prices, which then had a domino effect in the economy, led to the devaluation of land and hurting economic growth, which of course leads to unemployment. So the canals, the limitations of the canal system led to the growth of railroads, plus of course with the sponsorship of the federal government. A couple of foreign policy treaties that that I want to address. Rush-Bagot Treaty ended the naval competition with Great Britain on the Great Lakes, so it's promoting commerce and trade on the Great Lakes. No borders fortified, and so there's free trading between England and America. Other one was the Convention of 1818. Again, it's allowing us, small picture, it's doing all these things with borders. Settles the northern limit of the Louisiana Purchase. We were going to share Oregon with Great Britain. Great Britain's going to allow us to fish off of Newfoundland and Labrador, a couple of dogs up there in Canada. And it settled various disputes between us and England. But what Rush-Bagot and Convention of 1818 are really doing, it's really aligning ourselves nicely with Great Britain as a major trade partner, which is exactly what Alexander Hamilton was professing back in circa 1790. And then with the Adams-Onis Treaty, one of the main factors there was us getting Florida, and it was really kind of brought upon by General Jackson's chasing of the Seminoles through Alabama and Mississippi territory into Florida, takes out the Seminoles, goes after all of Florida, and conquers and basically declares himself governor. And then this treaty just kind of formalizes Jackson's conquering of Florida. Last bit of foreign policy, the Monroe Doctrine, circa 1823. President Monroe is basically stating, formalizing what Washington said in his farewell address, the America's stance on neutrality. We're not going to get involved in European affairs. We are staying out, so we're staying neutral. But they also said European nations can no longer colonize in the Western Hemisphere. What you have now, you may keep, but no further aggression towards European colonization. So we kind of got chesty with Great Britain, told them, you better stay out. That's it. And they didn't really challenge us, which is kind of comical because they easily could have did whatever they want. But hey, we barked and they backed down. They blinked first. That's a Cuban Missile Crisis reference. We'll get to that in a little bit. So those are foreign policy issues, declaring ourselves neutral, so we're going to only be involved in American affairs and kind of settle our border and trade with England. I also want to talk about the urbanization and immigration patterns and cultural, the pop culture. So with the with the urbanization, all these jobs opening up, and westward, the West being open, we see a flood of immigrants. Pre-Civil War, you got the Germans and the Irish. Typically, the Germans are going to go settle in rural areas in the Midwest, the beer towns of Milwaukee and St. Louis are going to be heavily German influence, who will later have a pretty big impact on the Lincoln nomination circa 1860. The Irish were typically going to head to urban areas and work in the coal mines and factory system. So we do have the influx of immigrants. Now, knowing the way America is today, you know that there's going to be a certain element of society that will be anti-immigrant, specifically fearing Catholicism coming, a Catholic influence with the Irish, in the same way that current states today have passed legislation banning or limiting immigration. There was a political party back then that's going to arise called the Know Nothing Party, and they're going to be, their main stance is a nativist stance. They're going to be anti-immigrants, and they're going to have some political influence in the 1840s and 1850s. But those are the pre-Civil War immigration patterns. We also have, going along with industrialization, the beginning of trade unions and unions in America, which are going to be viewed as un-American. And probably the main block or difficulties for labor unions were laws passed against them, saying that labor unions are illegal. But Commonwealth v. Hunt, the Supreme Court is going to the Massachusetts Supreme Court states, basically is going to state that forming a trade union is not illegal, so therefore it is going to protect the labor unions. I also want to, we talked about in class a little bit about pop culture. So, what were these people doing for recreation activities? And kind of on our sheet there, the indoor arenas for middle to upper class was theater, but the blood sports was the popular idea. The popular program, the popular brand in America we love a good blood sport. Michael Vick would have been very happy to live back then, because dog fighting, cockfighting, bare knuckle brawling, right? That was, that had the attention of the gamblers in the urban America. So those were the popular forms of sport, and we see that today. We love football. We love the violence, the mixed martial arts, and hasn't gone away. America thirsts for blood and for sport, and it's big business. Always has been, always will be. Last thing that we want to discuss, sectional issues, right? The big issues with westward migration. Well, we're going to have new states coming in, and in the 1820, the situation comes to a head when Missouri is going to ask for admittance into the Union, and that would disrupt the number of slave states and free states. Because in the House of Representatives, the North clearly has the advantage for pro-North or anti-slavery laws if need be, but the South could always counter that in the Senate with an equal number of free and slave states. They could balance that out and block any pieces of legislation. But Missouri is going to come in until there will be one more slave state, and therein lies there will be the difficult of imbalance. So Henry Clay steps in 1820 and recognizes this, compromises, bringing in Maine as a free state, Missouri as a slave state, keeping that balance, 11-11, then taking the southern border. So if this is Missouri, taking the southern border and taking it all the way out to the west, to the Pacific Ocean, and say any new territory that will be considered a state that's above the line will be free, below the line will be a slave state. And that the Missouri Compromise line, the 36-degree, 30-minute line, will be in place really until 1857, when Roger Taney in the Supreme Court ruled it basically unconstitutional. So that was the Missouri Compromise, which is really just taking the slave issue, which is a hot topic, and pushing it off to the side, and sort of it has its blinders on. If we don't see it, it ain't going to hurt us. But Thomas Jefferson basically is going to say it's going to blow up in your face, America, if you don't deal with it. And of course, he looks into his ball of the crystal variety, and sure enough, that's going to be the very topic that's going to bring America to a civil war circa 1861. All right, so we went over all the factors that kind of united, and these are going to be the factors that are going to create that unified national market. But with this growth, we'll introduce the idea of the extension of slavery, and that's our big sectional issue. All right, hey, good luck. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.